All praises to Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Rakak double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. And this is going to be a video on how you can pretend to be the Israelites all you want, right? But then it's never going to work because prophecy is a very real thing. And what I mean by that is that, let's say that us Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that made the 12 tribes chart, and all the people that have went out on the highways and byways teaching that we're under the curses, let's say that we're lying about that, right? Well, how comes there's so much evidence that what's being done by these people is true based on prophecy, right? And then you've got the small hats that they're saying that they're the Israelites, right? But then how comes the prophecies don't match them? Right? They, for example, they claim that they've went back in the land of Israel for the final time, but according to prophecy, when the Israelites do that, there will no longer be any war. Right? Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of Yahweh's house shall be established in the top of the mountain, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and he shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Where's that being fulfilled by those people in the land of Israel? Where's that being fulfilled? Now, somebody might say, when I say I'm an Israelite, or when any of you out there say you're one, they might say, oh, no, you're not. You're just a nigger. Okay, you've proved that we are one by saying something like that. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, for Yahweh thy power shall lead thee. Because what these people never want to do to a specific group of black people in this world, a specific group of so-called black people, right? A specific group of people that have a large different range of brown skin. They never want to say what country these people actually come from. They never want to say who these people actually truly descend back to. They'll say you're African, but that's a whole continent. They never want to actually say who you are, right? They never actually want to tell the truth about who you are and what your people have did in history before the Atlantic slave trade. They try and make it like there's just a whole nothingness with your people, and even try and make it like there was a whole nothingness really with all people during that time. They don't really like to talk about what was happening amongst in humanity among that time before the Atlantic slave trade. They don't really like to talk about that. Haven't you noticed that? And it's because in that time, our people is not in a bad situation around that time. Our people are ruling things, man. And that's why they don't like to mention these things, because they're liars. And they have to lie in order to make themselves seem like somebody. And everything that they do is based on envy. Every single thing that they do is based on them being envious, man. They're not tough, right? They're hateful, and they have to lie in order to make themselves feel better about who they really are, man. And they have to lie about who we really are to make themselves feel better about who they really are. But when you deal with prophecy, all the BS gets wiped out real quick, man. Because they can say that they're the chosen all they want. They can say that they're the Israelites all they want, right? But okay, let's go to this. Because if they're saying that they're the chosen, if they're saying that they're the Israelites, that means that they're saying they're the righteous, right? But look at what the Bible says in reaction to that. Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2, when the righteous are in authority, so when the Israelites are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, and who's the wicked? Who's the wicked? Anyone really that's not an Israelite. But the main wicked are the Edomites. Beareth rule, the people mourn. And everyone's mourning in this world. You got women complaining that there ain't no men that are viable candidates for dating. Right? You've got men complaining about the women. You've got the middle class complaining. You've got the lower class complaining. You've got the upper middle class, lower middle class complaining. Everyone's got a complaint and a grievance in this society about something, some way or the other, man. No one's truly happy in this world. Even the elites, they can't sit comfortably. They can't sit comfortably in their thing because they're still hoping for better than what they've got now. They're still hoping for more control over people, and they're still scared and terrified of more Israelites waking up, man. That darkens their days. But if they were really, or if these so-called people were the real Israelites, right? Well, then they'd be making everyone happy. They'd be teaching everybody else the laws, like I read in Isaiah the 2nd chapter. They'd be judging among the nations, rebuking many people, and people would be going to them and flowing to them to learn from them, rather than them having to make up fake words in order to excuse me, in order to make nobody be able to talk about them. Or you're anti this, or you're anti that, if you talk about me. But nobody would have anything bad to say about them because they'd be the righteous. And according to Deuteronomy 4, people would be praising them for being a wise and understanding people, but instead people are bunning them out for being a bunch of demons, man. Right? Anyone can claim that they're Israelites. Anyone can claim anything. People can read a prophecy and say, I think this prophecy means this is going to happen. And somebody else can read another prophecy in the Bible and say, I think it means that's going to happen. Right? But at the end of the day, who actually is the people are going to be who the prophecy is going to be fulfilled in, man. And that's why these Christians are so far behind when it comes to prophecy concerning the Israelites, because they're looking for prophecy in the wrong places. They're trying to look for the third temple and all this kind of stuff being built among the small hats, when if they was looking for anything being built up for the Israelites, they should be looking at the Hebrew Israelites that are actively growing day by day and that have changed the whole world's view of the Bible without having to have anywhere near as much numbers of the churches. They don't have to have physical buildings. And look at how they've just changed the whole world's view of the Bible, man. They've changed the way how people talk. The Hebrew Israelites have. They've literally reached everywhere, man, on this whole earth with a camera, a Bible, some highlighters, right, and most of all, the Holy Spirit, man. And they've changed the whole earth's view in general, man, to the point where everyone really is some way affected especially when it comes to talking about the Bible. They've all heard what the Hebrew Israelites saying. They've had to change up their doctrine, man. They have had to start trying to teach different ways because they know that people are going to ask them certain questions because the people have heard what the Hebrew Israelites think. They can no longer just lie blatantly to people's face about what it says about certain things, man. They have to instead say, oh, it does say this and it does say that, but remember that or this. They can't just blatantly lie anymore, man. They can no longer just blatantly lie. Now, I wanted to say this as well, this point here, man, that we can all pretend, let's go to this, man. We can all pretend to be something in this world. And let me read this. Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 10. Let favor be shown to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. And the wicked people have been made deceived into thinking that they're the Israelites now. And yet they still ain't doing the right thing. They've claimed that they're chosen and all that, but they're scumbags, man. They still ain't doing anything that the Israelites would do. You can't find the prophecies concerning the Israelites among them. You can't find it there because those are not the people. But if you was to look amongst them small hats for prophecies concerning the Edomites, you would find it. But the Christian church are so dumb and wicked that they ain't going to do that. Right? They ain't going to do that, man. Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 10 again. Let favor be shown to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness he will deal unjustly and will not behold the majesty of Yahweh. Now, that's concerning these small hats, man. But in this world, right, let's use other examples. A woman can pretend that she's fire. She can call herself a 10 out of 10. I'm a 10 out of 10. I'm a bad queen, right? And all that. But the evidence, when you look for the evidence of her being a bad queen and all of these things, you're going to find that it's not that. You're going to find that she ain't no bad queen because the men that approach her and the men that approach a woman that would be a so-called bad queen and all these 10 out of 10 baddies and all that, right? Don't approach her. The men that would approach those kind of women don't approach her. And that's why that whole Kevin Samuels show that he used to have was so like ridiculous, man. Because all the women that used to get on there and run their mouth about how they're this and they're that, and then you're looking at the evidence and you're like, no, you're not. But they said that they were, and they would say that they were 10 or that they're 9 and all that. And then he'd say, okay, what celebrity woman or what woman that's a public figure or something like that that we know or would know of, would you also say is that rating? Then they'd say the person, they'd say the woman, right? And then they'd be like, okay, so if you was in public with that woman and we put you in a party or in a room with certain level of men, do you think that you would get as much attention as that man? As that woman, excuse me. You think you'd get the same amount of attention as that woman? And they would say, yeah, but they already know damn well that that's not the case. They already know that they ain't gonna get access to the same type of men as that woman. They're just not going to. So we can all pretend and say that we're this and that in life. Like a man can. I remember one story that someone told me where there was a guy with a Golf GTI revving up his car on the street, right? Revving up his car, trying to show off, trying to think he was the man because he had a nice car. And then a Lamborghini came down the street, on the same street, parked right and was right next to him in the traffic. And then he patterned down and stopped revving that shit, man. Right? Because he realized that there's levels to being having money. But when he thought that he was the guy, he was giving it large. We can all pretend to be rich, right? We can all try and fake like we got money because might have a car on finance. And I ain't bunning people out for having a car on finance, but having a car on finance, and some people might say, and maybe it is actually a better financial decision to get a car and finance a brand new car. If it was a brand new car on finance, then paying it all cash. I would say it probably is a better decision to do that. But you could also get a used car, right? But I ain't giving no financial or no car advice to nobody. I'm just saying, right? But people can pretend that they're rich, for example, right? But the evidence is gonna show that you're not rich, though. Because when it comes to being able to go and buy expensive things in the world, you can't do it. A person that makes 50,000 a year that tries to show off against unemployed people or people on minimum wage, when they end up around people that are making $250,000 a year or millionaires or billionaires, they're gonna look like a joke. And a millionaire will think he's the man around people that make less than him. But put a millionaire around somebody with 100 million and they're gonna look like a stupid idiot. Somebody with £1 million in their bank account versus somebody that's got 100 million in theirs is not even close to being the same. And then both of those people and all of those previous people that I mentioned are not even close to the same level as a billionaire, man. And a billionaire is not even close to the same level as a trillionaire. So we can all pretend to be certain things in this world, but then when it comes to you actually see that person, then it's not that. Just like how these small hats can pretend to be the Israelites, right? They can pretend to be the children of Israel, but put the top person that claims to be a children of Israel from their people, and the top people on this earth right now among our thing that we believe in that claim to be the children of Israel, and put us in front of the world and ask us exactly the same questions, right? And the Hebrew Israelites would answer all the questions. And where we can't answer the question, we would say, well, faith is where it comes in. But the small hat would not answer every single question. They'd start giving some long spiel. They'd start mentioning a hollow this, hollow that, right? They'd start trying to be insulting. They'd start trying to come with stupid humor. They'd start trying to troll to take people's mind off the subject, off the question that they've asked. They'd be trying to dodge all them questions like Neo in the Matrix, man. They'd be dodging them questions like Emmanuel Augustus be dodging punches, man. They wouldn't want to answer it. But the Hebrew Israelites, we don't run from questions. We've all, like, the only reason why the Hebrew Israelites now don't want to speak to most of you wicked ass Christians is because they've already answered all the questions before. They've already answered all the questions, and you clowns was not happy with the answers and still want to keep bothering them. But they already answered the questions already. They answered it all already, man. All the questions that you people could have possibly ever have had have already been answered. There's no need for any Christian to get up in the Israelites' face anymore and speak to them about anything, because every single one of your questions has already been answered. You just didn't like the answer, right? Now, again, with another example from a worldly view of people can pretend that they're this and pretend that they're that, right? People that think that they're gangster or whatever, they can pretend to think that they're gangster until somebody that's really actually like that shows up in front of them, and then all of a sudden they're going to realize, now I'm not that level. And then there's also levels for that too, because your local London or Birmingham or Manchester or Liverpool bad man or whatever, right? Put them around some cartel members, some of them Southern Kingdom demons, and they'd be looking like a stupid idiot in front of those guys, man, because those guys are really in a more of a battlefield than even that, man. Now let's go to other people can think that they're fighters and think that they're tough guys in this world, right? People can think that they're a tough guy, that they're a fighter, that they're some kind of hard guy, but then put a real guy that's really about fighting in front of them, and then all of a sudden they're gonna be like, "Oh, nah, I'm not a boxer. It's a boxer size class." I said it was a boxer size. No, I'm not a boxer. It's boxer size class. Or they might be talking about the MMA this and MMA that, and then a real fighter shows up. No, I never said it was a no. I only said I've been doing it for 2 months. What are you on about? And they'd be like, "Nah, no, you never. You said you was 10-0. Well, this guy here, he's 11-0. Do you want to spar?" Do you know what I mean? Now he's trying to backtrack on what he said, man. The real doesn't have to, and doesn't have to even pretend, man. We don't have to beg it and try and get the world to silence the world to not ask this and not ask that. With the Israelites have answered all you people's stupid questions, man. But the small hats have not had to answer any of the same questions that demon Volker Malone asked the Israelites. That demon Volker Malone has asked the Israelites so many questions, right? But he hasn't asked them same questions to the small hats. And why is that? Because he's a demon. He's a scumbag. He's part of the bad guys. He's part of the wicked, right? And he does not want to answer them the question because then it would prove that we're telling the truth. And he's more than likely, they're pretty much 100% likely been set up by some secret people to try and come up against the Hebrew Israelites and just be against them all the time, man. Right? Just a complete joke and a waste of time. A person that's a complete hypocrite that cannot see the truth even though it's right in his face. That really he worships the Israelites, man, and they gave his whole life meaning. I mean, you look that guy up on the internet, on YouTube, it says that he's a musical artist, which of all the things you could say that guy is, a musician, he's not, right? He's not a musical artist at all. Not even close, mate. Right? Not even close. But anyway, I just wanted to do this video on this particular topic that you can fake like you're an Israelite all you want, right? But when it comes to prophecy is going to prove who you are, man. Prophecy is going to prove who you are because Yahweh controls everyone, and Yahweh is going to make the prophecies of the Israelites be fulfilled in the Israelites. Revelation chapter 4 and verse 11, "Thou art worthy, O Yahweh, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created." Right? For Yahweh's pleasure, the Israelites were created. For that Yahweh's pleasure, the Edomites were created. And he's going to make his prophecies be fulfilled in that nation. So no, whether somebody else says that they're the Israelites or not, it don't matter. Because their prophecies are still not going to be fulfilled in them because they're not that nation, man. And on that, I'm going to say shalom to the elect to the nation of Israel. Shalom.